I certainly can explain what I mean by the cult joiner who is a seeker. In fact, I've written a book about it. We are going to read this portion today. This search for belonging ties directly into the second major factor that scholars highlight in cult recruitment, being a seeker. The first is a lack of social connections. Many high control groups even have recruiters trained to spot and draw in people with these traits. In a general sense, a seeker can be defined as a person who's actively looking for something. In a spiritual context, this often means a search for meaning or a mission of self-discovery. You'll hear words like authenticity and higher purpose and alignment as part of this search. When I took an informal TikTok survey of my 200K plus followers, many of whom are self-described cult survivors, their descriptions of this seeker mentality had things in common. Seekers are often looking for a sense of community, a clear mission or purpose in life, answers to the big existential questions, or an alternative view of power and authority. They're searching for something that feels deeper or more meaningful than what they've found in the mainstream. They may also want to feel special or superior, or even trade one addiction or obsession for another. And don't underestimate the power of romantic or comradely love. People are seeking these emotional connections too, which is why many cults do flirt to convert, or I think there's always a sexual element in cult recruiting. For many seekers, the search is also about finding a place where their grievances about the world are validated. They want a space where their frustrations or disillusionment make sense, where they feel like they belong to a group that understands their pain or confusion. And cults, like Turning Point, with their clear narratives and tight-knit communities, are really good at providing that. Dr. Janja Lalich describes the common stereotype of cult members as deranged, unstable, weak-minded, or weak-willed. They must be needy, lost souls who cannot think for themselves, dysfunctional, mentally ill, or coerced by charismatic but insane leaders. But, she explains, the confounding behaviors of some cult members occur as a logical conclusion to lives that have been gradually constrained in an increasingly oppressive social structure. It's not about weakness or instability. It's about a slow, methodical process. I like to say that onboarding into either a cult or the U.S. Army takes a solid 6 months. Each step seems rational enough at the time, even as things slowly get more extreme, until you're increasingly cut off from the outside world and inundated in the group's culture. As Dr. Alexandra Stein reminds us in her book, Terror, Love, and Brainwashing, the stereotype gets an important fact wrong. These people are not looking to submit to a malevolent authority figure or to join a cult or totalist group. Nobody signs up with that goal in mind. In 1972, out in California, my grandfather had what you could call a rough day. After a bad LSD trip, during which he was convinced he'd met Satan himself, he found himself sitting in a park, head in his hands, trying to recover. Because what else do you do after meeting Satan? And then, right on cue, along came the happy, smiling, guitar-strumming members of the Children of God. They were offering peace, love, and all the easy answers to his complicated questions. So just like that, he took off with them, and he never looked back. He has stayed loyal to the cult till this day, after quickly climbing high in the leadership ranks. Although there is some scholarly disagreement, I know that the seeker path is real. Maybe seekers don't know what they are looking for, but they sure do feel like they know when they find it. And very importantly, the Children of God wasn't approaching 4 happy people chatting together and smiling in a park. They were approaching the guy with his head in his hands. While the common image of a joiner is someone actively searching for spiritual or political commitment, Stein explains this is only one of several pathways into totalist groups. In fact, many individuals enter such groups through other, more prevalent routes, such as being unintentionally drawn in, raised within the group from childhood, as I was, coerced or abducted, or simply by living under a totalitarian regime. I keep saying all Americans are going to understand authoritarian leadership in a different way now. In Psychology of Terrorism, Randy Borum credits terrorism expert Martha Crenshaw for pointing out that most terrorists are pulled in, almost by accident, while chasing completely different goals. They might join through a friend or get involved with a front group that seems totally legit at first, Shenyun is the front group for a cult called Falun Gong, for example. 12 Tribes is Yellow Delhi is the front for a cult called 12 Tribes. Amish, everything, goods and construction are a front for the Amish being horrible fucking people. This bait and switch tactic is pretty common with cult-like groups too. Oh wait, they seem totally legit at first, only to find themselves deep in a completely different organization. This bait and switch tactic is pretty common with cult-like groups too. Take Nexium. It cleverly marketed itself as a self-help or personal transformation group, but before long, members found themselves wrapped up in what was really a work and sex cult. Colonel John M. Venhouse gives us a clear breakdown of the different types of seekers he's come across in his work as a psychological operations officer in the U.S. Army. A real one. He sorts these individuals into 4 distinct categories, but at the core, they all share the same drive. They're searching for something that gives their life meaning, looking to define themselves in a deeper way. These 4 types of seekers represent different paths toward that goal, but they're all essentially trying to fill the same void. The revenge seeker, who is diffusely frustrated, angry, and wants to just discharge that frustration or anger towards some person, group, or entity seen as being at fault. Again, turning point, looking right at you. The status seeker, who wants recognition and esteem from others, all evangelical Christianity. The identity seeker, compelled by a need to belong and to be part of something meaningful, wants to define a sense of self through group affiliations, so many self-help groups and nonprofits. And the thrill seeker, who's attracted to the group because of the prospects for excitement, adventure, and glory. United States military looking right at you. Seekers come from all kinds of background and have different reasons for their search. Some are looking for meaning or are frustrated with the current social systems. Others are driven by anger, a desire for revenge, or a passion for social justice, while some are simply trying to escape tough situations at home. Interestingly, these motivations aren't too far off from what drives people to enlist in the military. Whether they're searching for answers, community, or a sense of purpose, seekers come with an openness to shifting their worldview if they believe they've found the answers they've been looking for. By being open, they may adopt the ideology of a coercive or totalitarian group in disguise, ultimately becoming ensnared under its sacred assumption. That's, of course, what this chapter is, a sacred assumption. Culting of America comes out January 20th, but the audio and digital probably come out in November if you've pre-ordered, and you can get pre-orders attached. Have a day. Stickers pinned here.